217. You fought here last year. I know it's a fight that you don't particularly want to remember, but had you wanted to be on this card? Did you sort of want to rewrite that script?
No, I feel like I kind of forced myself last time. Last time they had the card here, you know, I don't think I was 100% ready, and I just wanted to get in here. The first event ever, being a historic thing, and being from New York, I didn't care. No matter what happened, I was showing up. And now that New York has been a thing now for a little bit of time, only if I'm ready will I fight in New York.
Okay.
As much as I love to be here.
But you did come back and break your three-fight losing streak with that win over Kelvin Gastelum. And you spoke out to a certain Michael Bisping, and you had some words to say. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, yes, I ended up finishing Gastelum on my last fight, Nassau Coliseum. Of course, the champion didn't have any fight that was set at the time, so it made sense for me to call out Mr. Bisping. But GSP is fighting him instead, so I'm here just to enjoy and watch.
So you will be watching this weekend. But going back to Mike, I mean, you've had words to say about him as a champion, and that in your eyes you don't feel he's defended the belt to legitimate contenders, correct?
Yeah, well, there's nobody who could argue that. He hasn't. But I don't feel like it's his fault. I mean, he's doing whatever he can to keep the belt. He's giving what the UFC is, you know, whoever they give him to fight, he's going to fight. And it just so happens that his last fight, it was Dan Henderson, and that was a retirement fight for him. And he was ranked number 14th. So he hasn't fought a number one contender. And then even GSP, he's a guy who was a welterweight who's coming up and hasn't fought in 4 years. So as a champion, he hasn't fought number one contenders, but I wouldn't say that I would do anything differently. I just don't think, as a champion, I just don't think that's the way it probably should be done. But I don't blame him for it, but I'm just speaking the truth.
So what do you feel about GSP coming up to middleweight and getting this title shot then? You don't think that's fair? You get it, but you don't think it's fair for the division?
I get it on all sides. It's definitely not fair for the division, but I mean, this is just part of the sport at this point. So it's not. I'm not like losing sleep over it. It just is what it is. GSP's coming back in a weight class above the weight class he was fighting in, against a guy who's probably less dangerous than the guy at welterweight, in my opinion, in Tyron Woodley. So instead of coming back and possibly losing to Tyron Woodley, he's going up and fighting a middleweight who he could possibly beat. And if he was to lose, he was fighting a weight class above, and he'd go back down to 170, and he could get his feet under him again. If he was to come back right away and fight at 170 and lose to Tyron Woodley for the belt, it's hard to come back after that. Okay. So in my opinion, it's just really smart for GSP, and also for Bisping, because it's a big fight. He's going to hopefully do good on pay-per-view, and he's not fighting a number one contender in the middleweight division. There's a lot of question marks. As good as GSP is, there's a lot of question marks, and if you could take a fight where there's a lot of question marks on a guy, I think it's a good opportunity, especially you make some money doing it. What
do you expect to happen? Do you have any thoughts as to how you think it might play out, or some different scenarios?
I kind of sway back and forth with this one. I can see Bisping just going out there and being too big and keeping it standing, and GSP having a hard time finding the ground and taking him down. But I could also see, you know, if you look back at fights where Bisping lost, he has been out-grappled before. Tim Kennedy, he allowed him to get to his front leg in a high cross position and kind of bounce him to the cage and then eventually get finished on the cage. And GSP, I could see, definitely could do that. But it's a 5-round fight. He's going to be definitely smaller. And then I also see Bisping. I mean, I thought he pretty much lost that Dan Henderson fight against a 46-year-old guy who was ranked 14th in the world. Can GSP beat that guy? I think I would say yeah, but I don't know. I don't know. It's a tough fight to call, I think. But
do you feel you've had time off in the past, do you feel, having had 4 years away, he's been in the gym, we know that he's an athlete, he trains, but having 4 years away from a competitive fight, is that, this word ring rust that we throw around, but is that a real thing, especially for 4 years away?
I think ring rust is real if you let it be real. I've definitely taken time off before and came back, maybe over a year, you know, was off for a year, maybe a little longer, and I felt fine. But if you let it sneak in your head that, you know, you're going to have this, you know, time in there where you feel rusty and your timing is off, then it's going to affect you. So it depends how GSP mentally deals with his time off. It's also, I mean, he's way older now. I mean, there's a lot of question marks. It might not even be mental. It's just physically how's he hold up. Younger than Bisping, but Bisping's been active, so should be interesting.
The middleweight division is interesting right now because behind Michael Bisping, we've got the interim title holder with Robert Whittaker waiting there as well. They've just announced UFC Perth, so whoever wins this Saturday night will fight Robert Whittaker. We don't know where that will be yet. And then behind that, there's yourself, there's Rockhold.
Supposedly, hopefully for Whittaker.
Yeah. Well, there's Jacare. Who's next? After that title is unified, if you like, who's the next contender in your mind? How far away are you?
I don't know. So we got Whittaker. Rockhold just won his last fight. I won my last fight. Jacare, did he win his last fight? I think he lost his last fight. Who else is up there? Romero lost his last fight. Brunson just won he's coming up. So I guess behind that you got the guys coming up wins right now, me, Brunson, and Rockhold.
So who out of those do you want that rematch with Rockhold? What makes sense for you? If Bisping loses, is that the fight that makes sense for you?
If it brings me closer to the title. And I think if Bisping loses, I think he might just be done with fighting, which just based off, I think, what he said. But whoever brings me closer to the title, if it's a rematch with Rockhold, Romero, or if it's a guy like a Brunson coming up, or whoever it is that is going to get me close to that title shot, then Jacare, whoever it is, I'm in.
So are you, like the rest of the division, almost in a waiting position right now? You're waiting to see how the cards kind of fall?
Yeah, yep. I'm just going to, I'm focused on my hand right now. I injured my hand in my last fight, so I'm worried about healing that up and being able to train at 100% again. And then once I'm able to do that, then I'm going to try to find a fight that works. And but again, yeah, it's right now it's a waiting period. There's like a waiting, we're in a waiting line because Bisping, he was taking a while to fight, and now he's fighting GSP, which makes it really like a whole different dynamic. Because I don't know, they're saying that GSP is going to go down. I mean, they say GSP is going to have to fight Whittaker if he wins.
Apparently, it's in his contract.
I just don't know. I just don't know if that's a reality, to be honest. It could be in his contract, but that doesn't matter. There's a lot of things in contracts. Who knows? And then you got Whittaker who has the interim belt. I don't know. It's just a very weird division right now, and I never like trust what people say is going to happen and believe that's going to happen. I'm going to focus on myself, and whatever happens, happens.
And this weekend, you're there as a fan. You're here to watch, so it's a different experience the last time for you. Are you excited about this event?
Yeah, I'm definitely excited about it.
What are you most looking forward to?
Well, Wonder Boy, he's fighting, and he's kind of my brother-in-law at this point, so I really want to see him go out there and do good. The Dillashaw and Garbrandt fight really is probably, even though this is my division, I'm excited for that fight, but their fight I think I'm most excited for. Dillashaw is a guy who came out, when he first came out, he won the belt. He was so dominant over Renan Barão, who was known as possibly one of the greatest of all time, especially in that weight class. And he went out there and completely just crushed him with a whole different style than we've ever seen, the way he was able to switch from southpaw to orthodox. And his footwork and everything, it was just like inspiring as an MMA guy to see that, something that I could try to use into my game. And then he loses a close fight to Dominic Cruz. I think maybe he got emotional. And then he kind of fell off the map, even though he was winning fights. People weren't really focused on him. And now Cody Garbrandt came out of nowhere and just has been dominating. So I could see where Dillashaw is coming from, where he still feels like it's his belt and he's in his prime. And then you got Garbrandt, who's both these guys are so confident. That's what I love to see. Like, I want a fight where two guys truly believe they're going to win. And that's what I think we got here, is two guys who truly believe they're going to win. And
if I was to ask you to give a prediction on the main event, Bisping versus GSP, if you were to give a prediction, what would it be?
Actually, as much as me and Bisping go back and forth, I do have respect for him, and I'm kind of a fan of his a little bit too. GSP, I've trained with a bunch, and so definitely I have some bias towards him. He trains with my jiu-jitsu coach, John Danaher, so it's there's definitely some bias in there, but I would say there's too many question marks for, if I was to put all my money on it, there's too many question marks with GSP that I would probably say Bisping. Okay. Thank you for your time, and best of luck with your own recovery, and we look forward to seeing you in there again soon. Thank you. I appreciate it.